Started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Unveiling the Power of Managed Success for NetSuite. My name is Maren Kreft, and I'm from the Alta Via marketing team, and I'll be the host for today. Our speaker, I'll present you our Managing Director, Peter from Zimmermann.
Hello.
From Alta Via, and Todd Kimpton from our partner, Etter+Ramli. Before they start, some housekeeping rules in order to give you the opportunity to address any question you may have. Please use the public chat during the presentation, and we'll make sure to answer them at the end of the webinar, or you can ask them in the Q&A session. Verbally, please be aware that the webinar will be recorded, so if you might switch on your camera during the Q&A session, you automatically agree that you will be in the video, and we will publish it on our YouTube channel. So now I'm pleased to hand over the microphone to Peter. Peter, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Peter von Zimmermann. I'm the Managing Director of Alta Via. Alta Via is a company. We are doing NetSuite since more than 15 years now, located in Germany. And we had about 500 customers during this time. And so we have some experience in long-term relationships with customers. There are lots of companies are on the startup or scale-up community, and they are changing a lot. They're growing mostly, and NetSuite is a great tool for them because it's really grows. It's growing with them, so it's adaptable and changeable. That will make a big success. But actually, companies are not only changing in size or requirements, they're also changing in the team. And so what we recognized over the years is that some companies are successful in running this NetSuite over long years, but others are really struggling to get this ERP system being sustainable in the company. And I always thought, what could be the reason for this? This was always a challenge I recognized. And I'm in parallel, to my role as MD at Alta Via, I'm running this NetSuite user group at the DOAG, the German Oracle user group. And we are having these meetings, all European user group meetings every year in November in Nuremberg. Also last year we had it, and we have some call for papers, of course. And last year we got a call for paper from, and when I've seen it, I didn't understand what this is all about. It was about whatever, performance, make more out of your NetSuite. And I really didn't know what this was all about until I've been in the call. Then I saw the presentation from Todd Kimpton on this topic, and I suddenly realized this guy has not only sees this problem with the sustainability, but he has an answer. And so that's when I decided that we really have to work with him together and make a cooperation, because this is really, from my perspective, a game changer in the way how NetSuite systems are used. And I'm extremely excited to have Todd today on the call here, and I don't want to spoil his message. I give him the opportunity to now start with his presentation. So Todd, please take over and explain to us what the idea is and where the problem and especially where the solution might be.
Sure. Hey, thanks so much, Peter. Thanks for having me here today. I'm going to share a presentation. I'll talk you through what does future-proofing NetSuite look like. Before I do that, Peter, you know that I've been around the NetSuite community for quite a long time. I was a customer for 7 years. Then I worked with professional services in deploying NetSuite. Then I was in the partner community. But a few years ago, I got the opportunity to roll out NetSuite for one of my customers in a global project, and that gave me a huge amount of insight into the trouble that customers have in running the system. With that knowledge, that really pivoted the business, and so today, through Etter+Ramli, we really work on future-proofing NetSuite deployments, and we think we've got a smarter way for business leaders to ensure long-term success. So thank you so much. When we talk about the life cycle, it's sold in a way that it's the last ERP that customers will ever use or need. But there's three major challenges that we see that customers need to be aware of. Of course, NetSuite uses this mechanism called uplift in the discounting, and they term that as a share of the productivity gains that they expect customers to make. What that really means is that the cost of system will go up, and the onus is on the customer to make sure that they're driving more productivity through the system. That's a challenge. The other challenge is that when users are doing their work day to day and they don't have swift solution, they go out of system to do it. As soon as they go out of system, one of the main advantages of NetSuite, which is process and system controls, they immediately become redundant and get undermined. And this widens value gaps. So if we're not responsive to users, then we create problems for ourselves. The third challenge that I see is around knowledge retention. That over time, what happens is that the knowledge of running the system it begins to evaporate as people leave the business, as processes are not necessarily fully understood, and as the business memory goes away. These challenges are real, and they really undermine how customers can truly drive good value from the system, in my opinion. A couple of data points to keep in mind is this, that when customers do have an actively or they unmaintain their deployments, what typically happens is that within 5 years they have significant gaps, and often within 7 they've migrated off the system. That represents a complete waste of money in my point of view. When they approach it with a proactive maintenance strategy, that obsolescence takes on average 2.5 times longer, so closer to 18 or 20 years. That's a much longer duration and a much longer earn back period, and that's growing all the time. Okay. The other thing that's a bit of an not well published, but it's certainly very true, is that when customers choose to have an internal NetSuite administrator, those administrators, they also have career objectives. And within the space of cloud ERP, their life cycle is much faster. So on average, NetSuite administrators are typically employed for about 2.8 years. I think the official range is between 2 and 4, but around about 2.8 years. So if you math that out, that represents about six administrators over an 18-year period. That means 6 changing of parcels, six sharing of ideas. So look, in our opinion, the essential ingredients for solution longevity are making sure that we've got productive users. That's really important. That we're proactive in our system maintenance, and that we swiftly adapt to system adaptations. Through the eye of talking with customers, we now look after customers in 32 countries around the world. And what we really do, we've defined that the real role of the NetSuite administrator is to maximize that firm's utilization of NetSuite, and to facilitate the development of a strategic information asset. It's a nice phrase, but the essence of it is that we're trying to squeeze out more and get better quality at the end of it. This really distills down into 4 key tasks that we talk about. You've got to have users that are enabled and able to work productively. That's essential. The second part is that the system allows for automation, and when you have manual processes, that drags on productivity. So any process that can be automated should be. Once you're automating processes, though, it's very important to check that those processes are being done properly and to monitor it for compliance and also for data integrity. That's the hallmark for building that strategic information asset. When you have these three components in place, then the business can really work toward business partnering and building out the utilization or extending the system to accommodate for a new future. And like all these things, we reckon that there's an importance to manage the success by ensuring that we have good governance and procedures, that we break the work into 90-day sprints because it's a nice digestible period of time, that we really work on making sure that the data is tip-top, and then, of course, measuring the KPIs that are being generated by the system. So this brings us down to the skills. Now, we're of the firm opinion that the skills needed to do all this is not a one-person job. I know I've been around NetSuite for a long time. I know the system very well. I know a lot of people that know the system very well, but none of them know all of it very well. And so in order to truly future-proof the system, there are 4 key skills that we see as essential. The first one is the functional expertise has got to be at your fingertips. This addresses that second challenge about users not having access and moving out of the system. The second skill we talk about is technical prowess, and that's really making sure that we have the development skills to be able to not only build solutions, maintain them, but also adapt them in a very rapid way that keeps the business responsive. The best functional people and the best technical people in themselves, all of their effort might be pointless if they don't have good alignment with leadership and good planning on how the leadership wants to release the value of NetSuite as well. And so having that ability to bridge the boardroom and the user base is really essential as well, that leadership component. Lastly, all of this good effort, all of this good skill, and all of this good work can be completely undone if we don't commercially manage the vendor properly. And that is that the vendor is a bit notorious for having a very strong sales culture, and that may not necessarily align immediately with the customer's objectives. And so it's super important to manage that vendor commercial relationship very well, and to try and ensure that they don't undermine all of your productivity gains with an aggressive pricing strategy. So to get all of this done, cost, it looks like an expensive exposition, and quality control is of course essential. So the big issues that come into this, and like I said, we don't see this as a one-person job. We see this as a team. Look, our program is called Managed Success. We break it into 2 distinctive parts. The first part is a 90-day onboarding, and then after that we roll through a series of 90-day sprints that we typify as our success plan. In the first 90 days, we're trying to learn, understand, and build the baseline documentation we need. And then in the ongoing success plans, what we're trying to do there is release the productivity, manage users, ensure compliance. The great thing that we incorporate is a no lock-in for customers as well. So with a short notice period, customers can walk away whenever they want. This brings us to how we're teaming together, Peter. Through our dialogue, we've identified that the knowledge and the market awareness and that Alta Via's consultants have is really a terrific component within ensuring total success. What we're going to provide is the functional capabilities and those technical developers that are always on call, and jointly we're going to help customers ensure their NetSuite licenses are the best. The good thing for customers, of course, is that we wrap this up under one agreement, so no secondary agreements, and we team together to ensure a very comprehensive, forward-looking, and measured approach toward releasing value. So the main gain for customers, this is really where the meat is on the bone. Over the short, medium, and longer term, we believe that this approach ultimately lowers customers' cost of ownership. The system continuity and the access to skills and the pricing that we have available it really ensures that customers are getting the best total commercial outcome. Operational continuity, through our engagement, customers have got no downtime and no disruptions. We're always marching forward. And because we engage as a team, that team is able to step in and support each other or changes in that team without losing step with customer objectives. We're designed from the ground up to provide a future-proof system, and our key objective, again, is that we want to leave customers with a strategic information asset that's really purpose-built for the AI age. AI relies on good quality data, and being able to manage that data through our compliance process is really first-rate. Lastly, what this means is that we provide the assurance to the business that they can get busy doing what they do, and we'll take care of the NetSuite complexities to ensure that we're aligned and the system is always ready to meet with the business needs as they come. So I guess in summary, Peter, what we're getting to is the fact that implementing NetSuite has been a significant investment. It had plenty of headaches, challenges, and making a replacement choice within 5 to 7 years is really a big waste of money and best avoided. In order to future-proof that system obsolescence, we're of the firm opinion that managed success has been designed to unlock that value over a period of time and make sure that customers are always running at optimal. And the bonus is, of course, that they get this strategic information asset as a bonus, which will make them ready for the AI age as it begins to unlock NetSuite. So thanks for the floor, Peter. Peter, you've been around a long time. You've seen lots of customers succeed and probably fail as well. Maybe we can share some insights with the audience on some of these things that and indeed why you think this approach offers value to the customers of Alta Via.
Sure, I can. Yeah, thank you very much, Ted. I think that was a very good presentation, just to the point. Yeah, I think it's exactly again the story which I understood in Nuremberg to be the right answer, and hopefully the audience also see this. It was, I think we have. Yeah, it's from my perspective, seeing all these 500 customers we have some of them are really doing it very well. That's normally exactly what you mentioned. People, there are still industry people that are still on board. I worked with them in whatever 10 years ago, and they are still the main people out there, and it's working. And then you see other customers where you really see it. We do this implementation. All good. We are very successful in bringing this down. Everybody is happy. And our project is done, basically. They are starting working with the system. We recognize, okay, we are downgrading our consulting because we have done our job. And then, okay, we call them a year later, maybe we have sold them a licensed product, there's a renewal. So we talk with them next year about the renewal and suddenly recognize, oops, There is nobody from the team we've seen before, and the new guys are asking questions. So I think, hey, this has been discussed a year ago. You should know this, and you see how the knowledge of the system goes away. And this is exactly when we see, okay, we can think about, okay, how long will this take until they quit NetSuite? We have really customers where we thought we had done a great job. Customer had done it, thought it's a great job. System was running perfectly, and then suddenly a year later it was wasting away a bit. So this experience we made, and that's why I think this approach really would give the chance to avoid this. And I completely understand your message. Of course, I think it's probably the audience or people has to see this presentation multiple times and think about this. Because it's really to really think about that this is a solution, and obviously a lot of questions on how we really set this up, how this works. If somebody really wants to think about using this managed success. Yeah. So
I mean, Peter, one of the things that I really identified with early is that old general rule, that old 80-20 general rule, really applies with maintaining systems. And 80% of all users don't bother asking the question.
Okay.
They move out of system. They're embarrassed. They feel the knowledge is incomplete. They are not sure. It's going to take too long. Whatever their reason, they don't bother asking the question. And so, as soon as they make that personal choice, value is immediately eroded. By a lot or a little doesn't matter. It's immediately eroded. And what we found is that as customers were dealing with that, their next problem was they downgraded the importance of the change that they needed. That is, they said it's insignificant. It's going to be too difficult to get someone to do it. We'll just deal with it. We'll just do this. And automatically they downgraded the importance of their product. Now, from our perspective, we find those two things are the key undermining factors that need to be addressed. Because like that challenge that was raised, as soon as users move out of the system, a value gap has been created. And the more users that go out of the system and the more they use that out system process, the bigger that value gap will become. And that's the key thing that breaks the value chain and forces customers to reevaluate whether they made a good decision or a bad decision. And so, to use an analogy, Peter, that's like saying, you know, we're both, once upon a time we were both young boys, and we probably got lots of cuts and bruises. And the importance was that every one of those cuts got some antiseptic, because one of them may have got infected over time and caused a real problem. So anyway, that's just our learnings around the importance.
Yeah, I think that's also my feedback from my side. We very often start when we start as an new implementation with the so-called minimal viable product. So we really start somewhere with a limited scope just to get live. And so this works very well. And the idea, of course, when we start this process is, okay, this is the starting point. And then from there, we grow this into everywhere. And very often, in this case, as you described it, what happened is after the first phase, there is no second phase. No? So they don't make really use of this. They have this minimal viable product, and that's it. And that's exactly what happened when we don't, because nobody really looks after it or believes in it anymore, and so on. This is what.
Yeah.
Also.
We have a question, Peter, from Monica. Yeah. How long after the implementation, on average, do customers start using your services? Monica, it's a really good question. we only work with customers that are already transactional, which means they're already go live. At the soonest, that would be as soon as the project team disengage. But honestly, we onboard customers that have been transacting years, but just haven't been making the productivity gains that that they wanted. So at the earliest, as soon as the project team is finished. At the longest, whenever the customer is sick and tired of not creating the productivity improvement that they expected. We have one from Martin. While NetSuite is the ideal ERP for small and medium businesses to scale up, is the managed success affordable for small businesses? Well, Martin, that's a really good question. So affordability, we do our best to keep the price of our managed service as economical as possible. There's an interesting opportunity cost problem here. The cost of inaction or getting any service will ultimately show up in productivity loss. Okay, but because we engage as a team, and because it's a managed service, we can right size every customer. So not every customer needs full-time equivalents. They may take a 0.5 or indeed a 0.3, and that will keep them that right sizes the resources for the customer. And so the small business could get a little bit of a developer, a bit more of a functional person, and indeed a bit of time from the Alta Via consultant, and we can parcel that together to be a reasonable economic rate. Naturally, for other customers, we run many analysts and many developers, but again, we parcel that into a commercial value that makes sense for the business. I hope that answers your question, Martin. And we've got another one as well. So are existing IT admins afraid to be replaced, and how can you take away their fears? Look, over the years, I've implemented NetSuite plenty of times, and the immediate reaction to everybody in accounting and through to warehouse and everybody is, this is gonna make my job obsolete. And so everybody has that fear. But when it comes to IT admins, it's a bit of a different job to being an IT admin to being an ERP system administrator, because we're not talking about the simple tasks of giving user access and role permissions. While that's included, we're really talking about advancing the business and making sure that users can do everything they need to do. And so that breaks down into higher and lower value tasks. If the IT admin is truly looking after all IT, then they stay in place, because they typically don't have the depth of skills needed to truly run NetSuite and be responsive to all of the users. But having said that, they can get all of the escalation benefits they need from a team. So there doesn't necessarily need to be a replacement of job there, but there certainly can be an enhancement. And interestingly, we support a number of NetSuite administrators internally within businesses with our staff to help make them more productive. And what happens is that that internal NetSuite administrator, their skills advance so that they step into the leadership role within that group. So they get career advancement through that as well. We have one from Rotislav. Do you also recommend external 3P solutions when it comes to automating processes? Well, we're not partnered with any vendor. And so we certainly have relationships with vendors, and we know some solutions are better than others. So we can certainly make recommendations toward it. What we really do is coach the business to ensure they understand the real parameters, and we work with the business to help make sure they evaluate the software completely. And so we're really covering off all of those bases. But like I said, we do know a number of solutions in the market, and we certainly have friendly relationships, albeit not commercial
But I
partner
think, yeah.
relationships.
Todd, I think the question behind, I think I see behind it is not you recommend to add a new function, but companies turn to they have it. They just have it's the time when NetSuite was a complete solution and on its own. I think it's a bit over. And it's more and more other partners filling gaps NetSuite has, and and so there are a lot of new third-party solutions coming up, really adding value to the users of NetSuite. And the basic question behind is, okay, are you supporting this as well, or is your managed success then limited to say, okay, oh, this is not our business? So you understand my question?
That's much more clear, Peter. So we take a view that if that solution touches NetSuite, then we need to understand it as well. And so we bring that into scope to provide that complete visibility in the same way that an internal expectation would be. Customers also use either integrated big solutions or platforms. So the overall IT setup has to be managed as well. What is your experience with these customers, and how do you organize this in your service? Well, I think that's really an extension of what I just said. I mean, if NetSuite is being touched or involved in the process, then we're bringing that into scope. And so the extent to which we manage these third-party solutions, obviously some are massive and would kind of not necessarily be in scope, and some are less big and therefore but we're looking after customers with integrated CRM situations, integrated third-party AP solutions, data visibility through Tableau, external websites. I mean, so there's quite a lot that we can pull into scope.
But I think there is this differentiation that there's this built for NetSuite apps, which are basically in NetSuite, which are probably closer to this what you support than totally different whatever there's a Salesforce CRM system somewhere where of course only the interface could be covered by you and not just suddenly the whole Salesforce system. Well, that's probably makes a difference. But there are a lot of these BFN solutions, localizations, and so on. And it's
Well, at the end of the day, we're business analysts, we're accountants, we're all certified NetSuite. So that really is our strong suit. But we certainly don't want to undermine value or provide excuse for why we can't support that commercial solution. Yeah. Very good. Peter, we've taken up people's time of about half an hour. I've really enjoyed the conversation and the opportunity to chat with you about the experience. I think we'll leave the questions open for another minute or so. If anyone has anything else they'd like to raise, please do. I've got our details are included here. Please, if you're interested in reading some of our point of view, we put out a white paper, which is Administrating NetSuite for Long-Term Business Success, a practical guide. It's a little bit of a long read, but it's a comprehensive read. And if anyone's interested in that.
And I think we will have another webinar like this it's probably a week or so, where we basically focus a bit more on how to set this up and for a customer, and focus more on onboarding process and everything than we did this time. It's more the starting point to understand the idea. And next time we will, of course, somehow repeat what we discussed today, but more focused on how to bring in on board customers and the questions around it. And maybe then we will see also some other questions in the meantime, which then can be discussed in a week from now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Peter. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you for all the questions. It's been terrific.
And yeah, Maren, will you take over the?
Thanks a lot for coming and being here today, and see you next week for our next webinar to start with the managed success. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.